The Druze community around Damascus, Syria, is facing a potential massacre at the hand of Islamists linked with the new government. The situation is dire and calls for Israel to help are being made. Well, Israeli Druze activist Mansor Ashkar joins us now with the breaking details. Mansur, what is happening right now on the outskirts of Damascus?
What's happened is that there's two big neighborhoods there, Sahniya and Ramana, that we've all been hearing about. And they're not towns, but they're just big neighborhoods that have about 250,000 Druze living in them. And jihadists have found an excuse to go and start massacring the Druze. And they're going house to house, door to door. They're fighting. The Druze have been fighting there with everything they had, but they ran out of ammunition. They literally ran out of ammunition and supplies. And what they did is, with the help of I would call it the terrorist government of Jawlani, because let's face it, he's an Al-Qaeda guy. They went and they blocked the roads for supplies. So the other Druze from Sweda, which is the big kind of Druze area, were trying to reach them, but they were either ambushed on the way and blocked and unable to reach. Now, further, the government is preventing from ambulances to enter. They also did something very sinister that people are not aware right now, because they've learned the lessons from the massacre that they did against the Christians and the Alawites, where they were filming it. You know, like the same like Hamas did, with glee in their eyes and joy, and they were just filming it. And now what they did is they realized that this is backfiring at them, so they gave an order to shut down the internet in these areas. And they gave the order to their jihadists to stop filming and recording. So we're kind of losing contact, because I've been talking to some relatives and friends of mine from Syria, and it's been heartbreaking. They're crying, please help us. We're running out of ammunition. We're fighting around our own. Can the IDF come and save us? They're all saying, can Israel come and save us? It's very sad and funny how all the minorities in the Middle East that are living under Muslim countries end up turning to Israel to save them. And it's very interesting, not to Europe also, but to Israel.
Well, the question is, why? Why is HTS and al-Jawlani and all these Islamists, why are they attacking the Druze community?
In the Islam, the Druze community is considered kuffar. Their fate is actually worse than the fate of the Christians and the Jews. That's in the Islam. Christians and Jews can live under submission rule. And there are many restrictions, humiliating restrictions. The Druze, as per Islam, should be killed. Hence why the Druze in many Muslim countries kind of try to pretend to be part of Islam. We're like you, we're just practicing our own faith, and then they come and test them. And they say, yeah, you're like us, and give me your daughters. And the Druze can't do that. And that's where you start having collisions. What's happening here is we're not so sure how many died, but I've heard numbers between 100 to 500 already have been killed. I've just heard something about 30 religious sheikhs that were kidnapped. They're grabbing the Druze men and they're shaving their beards and their mustaches, which similar pictures to what we saw was happening in Nazi Germany to the Jews. It's very, very sad and heartbreaking. And then they execute them and they make them bark like dogs and make sounds like cows. The government in Syria is a radical jihadist government. Anyone from Syria, I've been telling you that. I spent my life, as an officer in the IDF. I was in the special forces. I've studied, I've walked the whole land of Israel with the Bible in one hand and the book of history in the other, because I wanted to learn it. And then I ended up walking Jordan. I've been in the areas of Syria and Lebanon, so I got to know this area very well. And anyone that knows these areas can tell you directly that when Jawlani came to power, it's probably going to be worse than Assad. Assad was evil. Don't get me wrong, was very evil, but at least he was, sad to say, but he was evil towards everyone fairly, and he was kind of oppressing everyone. Jawlani is empowering. I've just had videos right now sent to me by my cousin from Syria showing that the people that are leading these attacks are holding ISIS flags alongside with Syria flags, Jawlani flags, and Sham. So Syria became like the Mad Max of the Arab world. It's just full of, raving factions that just want to find an excuse to kill. And I don't know if the viewers here know, the reason that this whole started is because they're saying that there was a Druze man that mocked the Prophet Muhammad. Now, they don't have a video of him. They have only an audio that someone recorded, in a WhatsApp audio, I don't know what, and sent it. So they didn't even bother to confirm Did this man really do it? Was he Druze? Was he not Druze? It was just the excuse that they were waiting for after they massacred the
Wow.
Christians and the Alawites, and they went and started killing. But that's the hypocrisy of Islam that people don't kind of understand. They mock every god under the earth. They mock the Hindus, they mock the Christians, they mock the Jews. They go to churches, they destroy them. But the moment that someone allegedly will come and say something about the Prophet, that's an excuse to go and kill not the men who mocked. Now, I don't support any mocking of any religion, but they're not going to kill or stop or shame the guy who did it. They're going house by house, killing women and children.
Wow.
It's insane.
Well, an Israeli Druze Sheikh Tarif, who you've talked to me being, very important to the community, said, quote, "I urge the state of Israel, the international community, and the Jewish people to act immediately to prevent a massacre." So do you think that Israel will intervene? And I think this is, maybe another layer to how complicated the Middle East is, that Syrian Druze are asking the Jewish state to help. So do you think this will happen? What are you hearing?
At first, I remember Bibi Netanyahu coming and saying that, hands off the Druze in Syria, when he warned Jawlani and his regime, and he says, if you touch the Druze, you're going to pay a price, which gave the Druze in Syria and the Druze in Israel the feeling that Israel is going to go and protect them. And I think Israel should definitely go and protect them for several reasons, not just because they're, Druze from another country with different citizenship. The Druze in the Middle East are probably the only true real allies that the Jews have. I'm talking like undoubtedly on the same page with each other. You have in the Middle East the other factions like Muslims and Christians and etc. that some of them have alliance to Israel, some have alliance to other groups and etc. But with the Druze, the alliance is very, very strong. And the Druze, many of them live in the southern part of Syria. So if Israel doesn't stop Jawlani right now in Syria, Syria is going to be empty out of minorities. There won't be left a single Christian there, single Alawite, a single Druze, which all these three groups, by the way, don't hate Israel. Maybe the Alawites had a little bit kind of crazy ties with Assad, but they're not all of them, Assad supporters. But the Christians and the Druze, for example, they have no beef with Israel. They don't hate Israel. It's actually going to be quite hard for a Christian, if you ask me, to come and hate the Jews because, the Bible is very entangled and God says very clearly that we should, pray for them, pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and etc. But long story short, if Israel plays it smart, they will protect the minorities in Syria and they will help them migrate to the south, and then they will have a buffer zone. Because if the Druze disappear, the Christians disappear, any minority, Al-Qaeda and ISIS will be on the border with Israel. Yeah. And we're just going to be waiting for another October 7. It's just going to be having another Hezbollah.
Yeah, on the borders. And I can speak from personal experience. I've been up to the north of to the Golan, to many Druze villages dozens of times, and it is remarkable how, for lack of a better word, pro-Israel the Israeli Druze are. They're very loyal to the government. It's an amazing thing to see. So Mansor, in closing, this is a Christian network, CBN, and I know you are a believer in Yeshua. So how can my friend here be praying for you and your community?
Well, first, you guys can be praying that if it's personally for me, that I can still have the strength to keep doing what I'm doing right now, because I'm doing it out of my own free time and my own free will. I basically took a break from my job that I used to work before to come and do this. And every time I think that I'm going to finish and something else happened, and I feel like, the voice needs to be out there. Second is, more importantly, I would say right now, is for the Druze in Syria that are stuck, have nowhere to go. They can't go on the roads. They're women and children. They're trying to defend and protect them. And also for the government of Israel, that they will make the right decisions. We're living in a crazy neighborhood. And, it's very important that we do the right decision, that our leaders would know how to do that. So I think that's the three. You asked me for two, I gave you three.
Well, Mansor, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, brother. God bless you.